Hello and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and for this video, it is just me today. Kneon is elsewhere. It might be me for a couple of videos and not him. We'll see what happens. But we're going to talk about the J.K. Rowling, Emma Watson situation. For those who don't know, back when, the whole thing started, everybody was mad at J.K. Rowling because she was basically like, oh, if there's a word for menstruating person, woman, and stuff like that. Immediately, Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson threw her onto the bus, and they put a big post out about, we support the trans community, and my fans are important and all that crap. So there's been an ongoing kind of tiff between them since then. In 2020, she was at an award show. Emma Watson was there, and she made some comment about, I'm here for all the witches, and people assumed that meant a dig at Rowling. I don't know, but that's what they assumed. It's been an ongoing issue. Well, now Emma Watson wants to come back to being an actor and all this other crap. So now she's just recently making statements about how, she always cherishes her relationship with J.K. Rowling and stuff. Here, I think I have her comments here. That's the one about the witches. She was talking about it, and she said she was on this Jay Shetty podcast. They asked her about her critical comments that Rowling has made and stuff, and she's like, she treasures her, and she said that she praised Rowling for her kindness and words of encouragement. There's just no world in which I could ever cancel her out or cancel that out for anything. And it has to remain true. It is true. And I just don't know what else to do other than hold these two seemingly incompatible things together at the same time. And just hope maybe they'll one day resolve or co-join themselves. And maybe accept that they never will. But they can still be both and still be true. And I can love her, and I can know she loved me, and I can be grateful to her, and I can know the things that she said about me are true. And there can be this whole other thing. And my job feels like just to hold all of it. But the bigger thing is what she's done will never be taken away from me. And this is, so now she's trying to make it out because she did give her break. The reason everybody knows who the hell you are is because you were Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter movies first. Let's be honest here, okay? That's why they know who you are. And you're terrible at Belle, and you can't sing or spit. Sorry. But now she's out there, trying to be all nicey nice about J.K. Rowling after she and Rick Radcliffe and stuff have been going out of their way to distance themselves from her. There were specials, and J.K. Rowling wasn't even included in some of them. And people have speculated, we don't know, that she was maybe deliberately excluded because the other people wouldn't do it if she was there. We don't know that for a fact, but that was some of the rumors that were going around. So now J.K. Rowling's just had it. So she's doing her usual and going to Twitter. This one's actually gloriously epic, what she says. But, the woman does tweet too much. Sorry, J.K., but you do tweet a lot. But this one was a good post. So she said, I'm seeing quite a bit of comment about this, so I want to make a couple of points. I'm not owed eternal agreement from any actor who once played a character I created. True. The idea is as ludicrous as me checking with the boss I had when I was 21 for what opinions I should hold these days. Very fair, very based. Emma Watson and her co-stars have every right to embrace gender identity ideology. Okay? Such beliefs are legally protected, and I wouldn't want to see any of them threatened with loss of work, violence, or death because of them. That's a rational take that, many of us normies have, but the extremists, think that if you don't like everything I like, if you don't justify me, if you don't accept everything about everything I believe and my ideology, you should be dead. It's a totally normal take, However, Emma and Dan in particular have both made it clear over the last few years they think our former professional association gives them a particular right, nay obligation, to critique me and my views in public, which they have. Years after they finished acting in Potter, they continue to assume the role of de facto spokespeople for the world I created. She's not wrong. They do. They're always out there making comments. When you've known people since they were 10 years old, it's hard to shake a certain perspective or protectiveness. Until quite recently, I hadn't managed to throw off the memory of children who needed to be gently coaxed through their dialogue in a big, scary film studio. For the past few years, I've repeatedly declined invitations from journalists to comment on Emma specifically, most notably on the witch trials of J.K. Rowling, which was a podcast or something. Ironically, I told the producers I didn't want her to be hounded as the result of anything I said. So she hasn't said anything about Emma Watson and the other people, but mostly Emma Watson, because they wanted her to. And she didn't want to cause Emma Watson any undue, harm as a result of whatever she said. Also a very, normie take on that one. The television presenter in the attached clip highlights Emma's all witches speech. That's what I mentioned earlier. And in truth, that was a turning point for me. But it had a postscript that hurt far more than the speech itself. Emma asked someone to pass on a handwritten note from her to me, which contained a single sentence. I'm so sorry for what you're going through. And it's like, she has my phone number. She could have called. This was back when the death, rape, and torture threats against me were at their peak, at a time when my personal security measures had to be tightened considerably, and I was constantly worried for my family's safety. Emma just publicly poured more petrol on the flames, yet thought a one-line expression of concern from her would reassure me of her fundamental sympathy and kindness. So yeah, she's out there, throwing more, fuel on the fire, knowing that, Rowling's been getting all kinds of threats because, when you're dealing with people that are extremists, they only can think in extremes. They can't rationally think, that sucks. I don't agree with you. But, I'll I just won't support you in any way anymore. And I'll tell people I think you're a jerk. No, they have to threaten. They have to dox. They have to find your house and do other stuff. They cannot, because you're expecting rational behavior from somebody who literally is losing their shit because now their favorite fantasy world isn't justifying their existence, isn't what the way they think it is, because the person who wrote it said something they didn't like. It is you can't make a rational argument for this because there's no rational thought to begin with in this. I mean, you can disagree and you cannot support, and you can be mad and say, hey, I disagree with you fundamentally. I don't stand with what you said. I think it's crap. That's fair. That's fine. But when you go to the place where you're threatening rape, death, and all that stuff on these people because they don't agree with you. And I would like to say it doesn't happen. Hell, I've been threatened. There's a rape poll about me over a fucking cartoon. Either it was She-Ra or the stupid Masters of the Universe Revelation. That's one of the two things. Because I dared, we didn't like the Owl House. I made fun of all prom being and everything. And you wouldn't believe the shit we got and the threats we got, telling us our kids should kill themselves. They actually found pictures where kids were mocking them on kiwi farms and everything else because I didn't like a fucking cartoon they liked. This is where we're at. And this is the mental capacity of these people. There isn't any. It's you accept everything and you confirm everything I want you to confirm for me and my ideology, or I want you dead. Because I think in my head, because you don't agree with me on this one point, you want me dead, which is stupid, irrational, all that. Emma Watson knows this, throws fuel on the fire, and then has that, I'm so sorry for what you're going through after I just did a whole bunch of shit to make it worse. Yeah, I get it. I think that'd be crap. And no one ever knew she did that until now. Like other people who've never experienced adult life, uncushioned by wealth and fame. Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She'll never need a homeless shelter. She's never going to be placed on a mixed-sex public hospital ward. It'd be astounded if she's been in a high street changing room since childhood. Her public bathroom is a single occupancy and comes with a security man standing guard outside the door. She has had to strip off in a newly mixed sex changing room at a council-run swimming pool, or has she? Is she ever likely to need a state-run rape crisis center that refuses to guarantee an all-female service? To find herself sharing a prison cell with a male rapist who's identified into the women's prison? I wasn't a multimillionaire at 14. I lived in poverty while writing the book that made Emma famous. I therefore understand from my own life experience what the trashing of women's rights in which Emma has so enthusiastically participated means to women and girls without her privileges. Yeah, she's a millionaire at 14 because of Harry Potter. And Emma Watson is drastically out of touch. That's been obvious many times, not just in this case. She said other things and it's like, dude, what the heck? The greatest irony here is that had Emma not decided in her most recent interview to declare that she loves and treasures me, a change of tack I suspect she's adopted because she's noticed full-throated condemnation of me is no longer quite as fashionable as it was, I might never have been this honest. Adults can't expect to cozy up to an activist movement that regularly calls for a friend's assassination, then assert their right to the former friend's love, as though the friend was in fact their mother. Emma's rightly free to disagree with me and indeed to discuss her feelings about me in public, but I have the same right, and I finally decided to exercise it. So yeah, what did you expect her to say? Like these people, I hate this. I love when people do this, especially when you know how people really are. Like there's people I know who put on this persona out on the internet and stuff like, oh guys, yay, be good, kind to each other, support everybody, all this stuff. And they're always like, kumbaya, yay, I'm so nice. And then behind your back, they're like threatening people, talking shit about people. Sometimes mask slips and you get to see a glimpse of what they're really like. But a lot of times there's just absolute shit bags, but you're not allowed to say anything because if you say something, you're a bad person. And it's like, but they're allowed to say what they want. They're allowed to do what they want, but you can't say anything. And that's where she's at. She's like, you've been making these comments about me publicly, throwing fuel on the fire, gleefully doing it, and then, trying to, but privately saying, I hope you're okay, so no one knows you're doing it. Because it says to me, the reality is she does, because no one knew she did it. So the reality is she does care if J.K. Rowling's okay. But publicly, she had a certain, image she had to protect, so she was just doubling, tripling down. But J.K. Rowling's right. How can you say you're my friend when you didn't, or you care when you stood there and said nothing and let it happen and actually encouraged it in a way? And now you're supposed to be like, oh, but she gave me the break. I can't separate myself from that. And it's supposed to be like, that's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. I'm tired of the double standards. I'm tired of the bullshit. Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe and stuff have been complete dicks. And they didn't have to agree with her. Like, they could totally say, hey, look, I don't agree. We have no we believe in, rights, these other people, we believe in LGBTQ, all that. They could have said, they did say that. And that's okay. But then she took it a step further to go and keep like throwing fuel on that fire and then causing more trouble, knowing, and they could have at any point in time said, hey guys, it's getting really bad. You need to dial it down because what you're doing isn't okay either. Threatening, murder and all this stuff. So they have to have extra security. Is not okay. When people thought they found her house and were like, standing outside it and all that stuff, they could have said, no, this is not okay. This is taking it too far. They didn't. And that's the thing. It's like when you throw in with these people, it's never enough because they are not in a mental headspace that allows them to be rational. It's an all or nothing. Everything's black and white. You either, either justify who I am and tell me what I want to hear, or you should die. It's one or the other. There's no reason. And I'm not saying everybody who's LGBTQ or trans is like that, because I know that's not the case. I know several people who are not like that at all. But what the ones that are they're threatening people and are out there that you hear the most about, they have no middle ground. It's just you accept what they want or they hate you. And I've been on the receiving end of this because I said, why are they putting prom in all these cartoons? And I thought the new She-Ra show sucked. A cartoon. So I get where she's coming from. It's insane. And Emma Watson deserves it. It was really shitty. You can't do that. You can't play both sides like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.